They sent humans to a Class 0 Deathworld. It didn't go as they expected. Part. The space around the small blue planet was quiet. Then a flash of light tore through the darkness as a ship appeared. It was sleek and curved, with no sharp edges. Soft blue lights pulsed along its hull. This was the Astral Seeker, a scientific vessel of the Galactic Confederation. Commander Zixtal stood on the bridge, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence as he studied the main screen. The planet before him seemed ordinary at first glance. Blue, oceans, white clouds, green and brown land masses. But the readings told a different story. "Confirm these numbers," he ordered, his translator converting his clicks and whistles into the standard Confederation language. Officer Vreen moved to the science station, her insect-like limbs tapping quickly across the control panel. "Confirmed, Commander. Gravity at 9.8 meters per second squared. Atmosphere contains 21% oxygen. Temperature variations from 50 to plus 150 degrees on the standard scale. The planet is impossible." Zixtal's skin changed from its normal purple to a concerned blue. "Yet it exists. And look, they have cities, technology. They've even sent primitive vessels to their own moon." "A Class 0 Deathworld," whispered Medical Officer Trollocs from her liquid tank in the corner. Her tentacles waved in agitation, sending ripples through her life-supporting fluid. "No Confederation species could survive there without extensive protection. The gravity alone would crush most of us. And oxygen? It's highly reactive. It should have prevented complex life from forming at all." Zixtal moved closer to the screen, fascinated despite himself. Yet life not only formed but evolved intelligence. The Council must be informed immediately. 6 months later, the Confederation Council had made its decision. First contact would be established with the humans of Earth. The plan was simple: send a signal that would draw attention, then invite a small delegation to the diplomatic station orbiting the 4th planet in their system. What the Confederation didn't expect was for the humans to respond with their own fully functioning spacecraft. The USS Horizon broke through the darkness of space, its engines glowing bright against the backdrop of stars. It was not as elegant as Confederation vessels, but it was clearly built for function rather than beauty. The ship was sturdy, reinforced to withstand the stresses of its new experimental drive. Captain John Russell sat in the command chair on the bridge, his posture straight but relaxed. At 45, he had gray starting to show at his temples, which contrasted with his deep brown skin. His eyes, just 2 of them as was normal for humans, remained fixed on the main view screen where Mars grew steadily larger. "Status report," he said calmly. Lieutenant Samantha Miller looked up from her communications station. She was younger than Russell, with blonde hair pulled back in a practical style. "All systems normal, Captain. The fusion drive is performing better than expected. We're receiving automated guidance signals from the alien station." "Any new transmissions from our guests?" Russell asked. "Nothing beyond the standard welcome message," Miller replied. "They seem cautious." Dr. Alan Wright joined them on the bridge, his medical kit slung over one shoulder. He was a tall man with a thoughtful expression. "Final medical checks are complete. Everyone's in perfect health, though I still have concerns about the environmental conditions on that station." Russell nodded. "Noted, Doctor. But according to their information, they've created a section with Earth-like conditions." Engineer Patricia Hayes spoke up from her position at the engineering console. She had red hair and quick, capable hands that never seemed to stop moving. "The real question is why they've gone to all this trouble. First contact is historic, yes, but this level of preparation suggests there's more to it." Russell considered this. "Whatever their reasons, we represent all of humanity now. Let's make a good impression." In the observation deck of the diplomatic station, Commander Zixtal watched the human ship approach. Around him, representatives from 7 major Confederation species had gathered, all protected by various forms of environmental suits designed to shield them from the human section of the station. "They developed faster-than-light travel on their own," said Diplomat Krell. his crystalline body reflecting the starlight from the viewport. From a Class 0 Deathworld, it defies all our models of evolutionary development. The real question, rumbled Security Chief Barsk, his massive furred body tense with concern, is what kind of creatures evolve on such a planet? They must be incredibly aggressive, incredibly strong compared to us, possibly dangerous. Zixtal's skin rippled with thoughtful patterns. That's why they're here, so we can assess the threat level and determine containment protocols. Containment? Asked a new voice. It was Elira, the empathic representative from the gas giants of the Andromeda arm. Her translucent body floated in a special gravity-free chamber. You can't be serious, they're a sapient species. From a world that would kill any of us in minutes, Barsk countered. A world where every living thing must fight constantly just to survive. What kind of psychology does that create? What kind of culture? The debate was interrupted as the docking tube connected with the human vessel. On the monitors, they could see the airlock cycling. We're about to find out, Zixtal said. Captain Russell led his team through the airlock. The corridor beyond was clearly designed for creatures different from humans, taller, wider in some places with control panels at odd heights. But the section they entered had been modified, with lighting that approximated Earth's sunlight and temperature set to a comfortable 22 degrees Celsius. Remember, Russell said quietly to his team, we're not just explorers here. We're diplomats. The corridor opened into a large circular room. On the far side stood a group of beings so different from humans that it took Russell's breath away. One was tall and spindly with 4 arms and 4 eyes on stalks. Another seemed to be made of living crystal. A third floated in what looked like a personal fish tank. Between the humans and the aliens was a clear barrier, a sensible precaution for first contact. The tallest alien stepped forward. Its skin shifted colors as it moved, going from purple to a formal-looking gold pattern. When it spoke, a device on the wall translated its sounds into English. Captain John Russell of Earth, I am Commander Zixtal of the Galactic Confederation. On behalf of the 2,417 member species, I welcome you to the stars. Russell stepped forward and gave a formal bow. Commander, Zixtal, on behalf of humanity, we are honored to join this meeting of worlds. We come in peace and friendship, seeking to learn and share knowledge. The alien's skin flashed briefly with blue spots. Surprise, though Russell couldn't know that. Well spoken, Zixtal said. Though I must confess you are not what we expected. Russell smiled slightly. In what way? You are from Earth, said another alien, the crystal one. A world we classify as extremely challenging. Ah, Russell nodded. You mean our home is dangerous by your standards? By any standards, said Zixtal. Your gravity, your atmosphere, your temperature ranges, your radiation levels. By our science, complex life should not exist there, let alone thrive. Dr. Wright stepped forward. Yet here we are. Perhaps your science needs updating, Commander. The alien delegation shifted uncomfortably. Zixtal's skin rippled with an unreadable pattern. Indeed, Dr. Wright. That is why you are here. There is much we have to learn from each other. As the formal introductions continued, Lieutenant Miller leaned close to Captain Russell and whispered, They're afraid of us. Russell nodded almost imperceptibly. Yes. And they've gone to great lengths to meet us in person rather than continue. Remote communication, which means they want something, added Engineer Hayes quietly. Or they're worried about something, Russell replied. Let's find out which it is. They sent humans to a Class 0 Deathworld. It didn't go as they expected. 2 days had passed since the humans arrived at the diplomatic station. The Confederation representatives watched them with a mixture of fear, curiosity, and disbelief. Humans moved too quickly, spoke too loudly, and seemed completely at ease in an environment that the aliens had carefully constructed to match Earth's extreme conditions. Captain Russell sat at a table across from Commander Zixtal. Between them was a display showing the known map of the galaxy. Russell found it hard to read the aliens' expressions. The color-shifting skin seemed to flash with too many patterns to interpret, but he could tell Zixtal was tense. "So you're saying Earth sits on the edge of what you call the dead zone?" Russell asked, pointing to a region of space marked in red. "Correct." Zixtal's translator converted his clicks and whistles. "A region with high-gravity worlds, extreme temperature variations, and reactive atmospheres. Most Confederation species evolved in more moderate environments." Lieutenant Miller, who had been observing quietly, leaned forward. "What you call extreme, we call home. Perhaps that's why you never discovered us before. You never looked in the places you considered too dangerous." The crystal diplomat, Krell, chimed in with a sound like tinkling bells. "Precisely. Our exploration protocols specifically avoid such regions. The risk to our explorers would be too great." Engineer Hayes had been examining the technical specifications of the station. She looked up with interest. "That explains a lot about your technology, too. Your life support systems, your artificial gravity. They're all designed for much narrower parameters than we require." Dr. Wright nodded in agreement. "I've noticed the same in your medical facilities. Your treatments are highly advanced, but they assume certain biological baselines that don't apply to humans." Zixtal's skin flickered with purple and blue patterns. What the humans would later learn indicated deep thought and concern. "You have observed much in a short time. This brings me to the purpose of this gathering. The Confederation Council wishes to understand humanity better before determining your species status." Russell's expression remained neutral. "Our status? All new species are classified, Captain," explained Elira, the empathic being floating in her gravity-free chamber, "for mutual protection and appropriate diplomatic relations." "I see," Russell said carefully. "And how are we currently classified?" The aliens exchanged glances, or what passed for glances among such diverse physiologies. "Currently," Zixtal said finally, "Earth is designated a Class 0 death world, and its inhabitants are considered potentially dangerous." Miller's eyes widened. "Dangerous? We came here in peace." "Your intentions may be peaceful," rumbled Security Chief Barsk, his fur bristling, "but your capabilities are concerning. Your bodies alone." "What about our bodies?" Dr. Wright interrupted, his professional interest piqued. A new alien entered the conversation. She was small, with translucent skin, through which complex organs could be seen pulsing. She moved forward, on a hovering platform, and introduced herself as Dr. Lethmar, xenobiologist. "Your physiology is remarkable," she said, her voice melodic through the translator. "You breathe oxygen, a gas that causes corrosion in metals. Your bones contain calcium, a metal. Your immune systems are constantly at war with microorganisms that live inside you. You consume substances that would be toxic to most Confederation species." "Like what?" asked Hayes. "Our scans detected compounds in your bodies. Caffeine, various alcohols, capsaicin, all substances we classify as toxins," Dr. Lethmar replied. "Yet you consume them voluntarily. Coffee, beer, and hot sauce," Miller laughed. "Those aren't toxins, they're what make life worth living." The aliens did not join in her laughter. In fact, several of them moved back slightly, their environmental suits humming as they adjusted to their discomfort. "I think," Captain Russell said carefully, "we need to reconsider some basic assumptions. What you find lethal, we find normal. What you consider extreme, we consider comfortable. Perhaps instead of focusing on our differences, we should look for common ground." Zixtal's skin shifted to a more neutral purple. "A wise approach, Captain. Tell us then, what does humanity seek from the stars?" "The same things we've always sought," Russell replied. "Knowledge, understanding, connection. We want to learn about other beings, other worlds. We want to share our own stories and hear yours." "Even if those other worlds would kill you in minutes without protection?" asked Krell. "Especially then," said Dr. Wright. "Different environments produce different forms of life, different adaptations, different solutions to survival. There's so much we could learn from each other." Barsk made a sound that the translator didn't catch, something between a growl and a laugh. "You speak of mutual learning. Yet you come from a world that would crush my bones, burn my lungs, and poison my blood. What could I possibly learn from such a place? Engineer Hayes smiled. How to build things that last under pressure. How to create medicines that work in hostile conditions. How to adapt when everything around you is trying to kill you. There was a long silence as the Confederation representatives considered her words. Finally, Elira spoke, her voice gentle even through the translator. I sense no deception in these humans. Their curiosity is genuine. Their desire for peaceful contact is real. They may be from a death world, but they are not deathbringers. Zixtal's skin rippled with gold and blue, a pattern that indicated decision. Very well. The cultural exchange will proceed. We will learn from each other, as Captain Russell suggests. But understand this, humans. Many in the Confederation will fear you simply because of where you come from. It will take time to overcome such fears. Russell nodded. We understand. Fear of the unknown is universal, it seems. But fear can be overcome with knowledge. And patience, added Miller with a smile. As the meeting ended and the humans returned to their quarters, Security Chief Barsk approached Commander Zixtal privately. You're taking a great risk, Commander, he rumbled quietly. These humans, they evolved on a world that would kill any of us in minutes. Their bodies are built to withstand pressures we cannot imagine. Who knows what they are truly capable of? Zixtal's skin displayed a complex pattern of purple and gold. That is precisely why we must learn more about them, Chief Barsk. Better to understand potential danger than to fear it blindly. And if they prove to be as dangerous as their world suggests? Zixtal turned to watch the humans through a view screen as they walked away, moving with an ease that seemed almost unnatural, given the strength required to function in Earth's gravity. Then, he said quietly, the Confederation will need to be prepared. But my instinct tells me these humans are not what we expected. They may surprise us yet. That, Barsk replied grimly, is exactly what worries me. They sent humans to a Class 0 death world. It didn't go as they expected. Part 3A week passed on the diplomatic station. The humans had settled into a routine, spending their days meeting with various Confederation species and learning about the complex galactic society they hoped to join. In the evenings, they gathered in their quarters to share observations and plan for the next day. Captain Russell was in the middle of a meeting with Commander Zixtal when the first alarm sounded. It was a low, pulsing tone that made the walls vibrate. What's that? Russell asked, rising from his seat. Zixtal's skin flashed with red and orange patterns. Colors the humans had learned indicated alarm, a warning. Something is wrong with the station systems. The door to the meeting room slid open and Engineer Hayes rushed in. Captain, there's a problem in the power core. The Confederation engineers are trying to contain it, but before she could finish, the lights flickered. A second, higher-pitched alarm joined the first. Zixtal touched a control panel on the wall. Status report, he demanded. A voice responded, the translator working overtime to convert the panicked clicks and whistles into English. Core containment failing, Commander. Radiation levels rising in sectors 7 through 12. Station integrity at risk. Evacuation recommended. What happened? Russell asked. Unknown, Zixtal replied, his skin now pulsing with bright red patterns. But if the core loses containment completely, this entire station could be destroyed. Hayes moved to a nearby terminal. Let me see the readings. Zixtal hesitated for only a moment before granting her access. She studied the display, her expression growing more concerned. It's a cascade failure in the cooling system, she said. The radiation shields are failing one by one. At this rate, you've got maybe 20 minutes before total core breach. A third alarm started. This one a shrill sound that hurt human ears. The station's AI voice spoke over it. Emergency evacuation protocols initiated. All personnel proceed to escape vessels immediately. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. The station shuddered. Russell felt the artificial gravity fluctuate, making his stomach lurch. We need to get to our ship, he said to Hayes. No, Captain, she replied, still studying the terminal. I can fix this, but I'll need help. Zixtal's skin displayed a pattern of disbelief. Impossible. The radiation levels near the core are already lethal. Lethal for your species, maybe, Hayes said. But humans have higher radiation tolerance. Not enough to be completely safe, but enough to give us a chance. Russell nodded. What do you need? Dr. Wright for medical support. Lieutenant Miller to translate the technical systems. And you, sir, to keep the Confederation from stopping us. You would risk your lives? Zixtal asked, his translator unable to fully convey his astonishment. There are over 300 beings on this station, Russell replied simply. We won't abandon them. As the evacuation alarms continued to sound, Russell used his communicator to summon the rest of his team. Dr. Wright arrived quickly, medical kit in hand. Lieutenant Miller was only moments behind. The plan is simple, Hayes explained, pointing to a schematic of the station. We need to reach the main cooling system here, bypass the damaged sections, and restore power to the radiation shields. If we can stabilize the core temperature, the automatic systems should be able to complete the repairs. The radiation? Dr. Wright asked. Bad, but not immediately fatal, Hayes replied. We'll have maybe 30 minutes of exposure before we hit dangerous levels. I've brought anti-radiation meds, Wright said, opening his kit. They'll buy us some time. Zixtal watched in disbelief as the humans prepared. Around them, Confederation personnel rushed toward escape pods, many already in environmental protection suits. Captain, Zixtal said, you don't understand. The core area wasn't designed with human safety protocols. The radiation isn't the only problem. There are toxic gases, extreme temperatures. Reminds me of that mining accident in Nevada, Miller said to Wright as she checked her equipment. Remember that? How could I forget? The doctor replied. 3 days trapped underground with failing air scrubbers. Russell turned to Zixtal. We've faced worse. Now we need access to the core section. The alien commander hesitated, then made a decision. His skin shifted to a determined blue and gold pattern. I will take you there myself. The journey to the core was chaotic. The corridors were filled with panicked aliens rushing in the opposite direction. Several times the station shuddered so violently that they had to grab onto the walls for support. The temperature rose noticeably as they got closer to the damaged sections. When they reached the final security door, Zixtal paused. Beyond this point, the environment is already hostile. My suit can protect me for a short time, but you have no such protection. Hayes smiled grimly. We're from Earth, Commander. Hostile environments are our specialty. Zixtal entered the override code and the door slid open. Immediately they felt the heat, like opening an oven. A red warning light bathed the corridor beyond in an eerie glow. Dr. Wright distributed injections to the human team. This will help with the radiation. It won't stop the damage, but it will slow it down. Stay in communication, Russell ordered. If anyone starts feeling too sick, you get out immediately. That's an order. They moved into the corridor, Zixtal leading the way. The alien's environmental suit hummed loudly as it struggled to maintain safe conditions for its wearer. The core control room was deserted. Multiple displays showed critical warning signals, and steam hissed from several damaged panels. The air was thick and hot, making it difficult to breathe. Hayes immediately went to the main console. The primary cooling pump has failed, and the backups aren't activating. We need to manually reroute power and coolant. She pointed to an access panel on the floor. Miller, help me get that open. We need to reach the emergency bypass controls. As they worked, Dr. Wright monitored their vital signs with a portable scanner. Heart rates elevated, but within acceptable limits. Core body temperatures rising. We've got maybe 20 minutes before heat exhaustion becomes a problem. Russell helped Hayes and Miller remove the heavy access panel, revealing a maze of pipes and wiring beneath. The heat coming from the opening was intense, like the blast from a furnace. I need to go down there, Hayes said, wiping sweat from her forehead. The manual controls are at the bottom level. Too dangerous, Russell replied. I'll go. With respect, Captain, I'm the engineer. I know what to look for. Before Russell could argue further, the station lurched violently. A pipe burst nearby, releasing a cloud of steam. Miller stumbled and fell against a console, crying out in pain as her arm contacted with the superheated metal. "Lieutenant." Wright rushed to her side, examining the burn. "Second degree. I need to treat this now." Another alarm joined the cacophony, this one a deep throbbing sound that they felt in their bones. "Core temperature critical," announced the station AI. "Containment failure imminent. 12 minutes to core breach." Hayes looked at Russell. "No time to argue, sir. I'm going down." She lowered herself into the access shaft before Russell could stop her. The last thing they saw was her determined face disappearing into the steam below. Zixtal watched from the doorway, his environmental suit now showing warning indicators of its own. "Your engineer," he said to Russell. "She cannot possibly survive down there." Russell looked at the alien commander, his expression calm despite the chaos around them. "You'd be surprised what humans can survive, Commander. Now let's help Dr. Wright with Miller and prepare for Hayes' return." "And if she doesn't return?" Zixtal asked. Russell's voice was steady. "She will. That's what humans do. We find a way to survive, and to help others survive too. They sent humans to a Class 0 Deathworld. It didn't go as they expected. 10 minutes passed like an eternity. Dr. Wright had treated Lieutenant Miller's burn and was now monitoring both her condition and Captain Russell's radiation exposure. Commander Zixtal remained at the doorway, his environmental suit beeping with increasingly urgent warnings. "Captain," Zixtal said, "you must leave now. The radiation levels are continuing to rise. Even your physiology cannot withstand much more." Russell shook his head, sweat dripping from his face in the intense heat. "Not without Hayes." The station shuddered again. The AI voice announced, 5 minutes to core breach. All remaining personnel must evacuate immediately." From below, they heard a muffled shout. Russell rushed to the open access panel. "Hayes, status report." "I found the problem." Her voice echoed up from the steamy depths. "The primary coolant pump failed, and the backup systems were sabotaged." "Sabotaged?" Russell exchanged a glance with Zixtal, whose skin flashed with patterns of shock and disbelief. "No time to explain," Hayes called up. "I've bypassed the damaged controls. I need power to Section 12B now." Russell moved to the main console, searching for the right controls. The alien writing was unfamiliar, but Miller had been working on translations. "Lieutenant," he called to Miller, who was sitting against the wall, her burned arm bandaged. "Which one is Section 12B?" Despite her pain, Miller pushed herself up and joined him at the console. "There," she pointed to a blinking symbol. "Reroute emergency power to that circuit." Russell did as instructed. The console hummed, and new lights flickered on. From below, they heard machinery grinding into action. "It's working," Hayes shouted. "Coolant flow restored at 30%, 40%. The temperature is dropping." The station's alarms changed tone. The AI voice announced, "Core stabilizing. Containment breach averted. Emergency protocols still in effect." A moment later, Hayes appeared at the edge of the access panel. Russell and Wright reached down to help pull her up. Her face was red from the heat, her uniform soaked with sweat, and her hands were blistered from handling hot equipment without proper protection. "The damage?" Russell asked as Wright immediately began treating Hayes' burns. "I managed to get the backup systems online," she said between deep breaths. "It should hold until their engineers can make proper repairs. But Captain, this wasn't an accident. Someone deliberately disabled the safety protocols." Zixtal moved forward, his translator struggling to keep up with his rapid clicks and whistles. "Impossible. No Confederation species would risk such destruction." "The evidence is down there." Hayes pointed to the access shaft. The backup systems were physically disconnected, not just malfunctioning. Before they could discuss it further, the door to the core control room slid open. A team of Confederation engineers in full environmental suits rushed in, followed by Security Chief Barsk. They froze at the sight of the humans, clearly surprised to find anyone still alive in the area. "You should be dead," Barsk said bluntly, his translator conveying his astonishment. "Sorry to disappoint," Miller replied with a weak smile. holding her bandaged arm. The next few hours passed in a blur of activity. The human team was escorted to the medical bay, where Confederation doctors examined them with a mixture of concern and fascination. Their vital signs were monitored, blood samples taken, and treatments administered for radiation exposure and burns. Dr. Lethmar, the xenobiologist they had met earlier, hovered nearby, recording every detail of their treatment and recovery. "Remarkable," she murmured as she studied the readings. "Your cellular repair mechanisms are already responding to the radiation damage, and your bodies are actively fighting against the burns, producing new cells to replace the damaged ones. It's called healing," Dr. Wright explained as he watched her examine Hayes's hands. "All Earth organisms do it to some degree." "Not like this," Lethmar replied. "The rate of repair, the efficiency, it's unlike anything in our medical database." Captain Russell, sitting on an examination bed nearby, caught Commander Zixtal watching from the doorway. The alien's skin was a thoughtful, blue-green color. "Commander," Russell called. "Any word on the investigation?" Zixtal approached cautiously, keeping a respectful distance from the medical equipment. "Security Chief Barsk is examining the evidence Engineer Hayes discovered. If sabotage occurred, we will find the responsible parties." "And in the meantime?" Russell asked. "In the meantime," Zixtal's skin shifted to formal gold patterns, "the Confederation Council has asked to speak with you, all of you, as soon as you are recovered enough for communication." Dr. Wright looked up sharply. "My patients need rest, not interrogation." "Not interrogation," Zixtal clarified. "Recognition." 4 hours later, still tired but sufficiently recovered for short periods of activity, the human team gathered in the station's communication chamber. A large view screen dominated one wall, currently displaying the symbol of the Galactic Confederation, a spiral of stars wrapped around a central light. The symbol faded, replaced by the images of 7 different alien beings: the Confederation, Council. The central figure, a being that resembled a tall, translucent jellyfish, spoke first. The station's translator converted its vibrating tones into English. Captain John Russell, Lieutenant Samantha Miller, Dr. Alan Wright, Engineer Patricia Hayes. "We have received full reports of your actions during the recent crisis. You risked your lives to save this station and all aboard it. The Confederation is grateful." Russell stepped forward. "We did what anyone would do in the situation." "No," the council member replied. "What you did is what no Confederation species could have done. You survived conditions that would have killed any of us instantly. You demonstrated strength, resilience, and technology skills far beyond our expectations. Most significantly, you showed a willingness to sacrifice yourselves for others, even those not of your species." Another council member spoke, this one a crystalline entity whose facets glittered as it moved. "We must reconsider our understanding of humanity and Earth. We classified your world as a death world, because no Confederation species could survive. There, we assumed such an environment would produce only aggressive, self-centered beings focused solely on survival. A natural assumption," Russell acknowledged, "based on your experience. But Earth's harshness taught us cooperation as much as competition. We learned long ago that we survive better together than alone." The council members conferred among themselves, their various communication methods creating a strange symphony of sounds, lights, and movements. Finally, the central figure addressed the humans again. "The Confederation extends an invitation to Earth, not as a probationary member, as is usual for new species, but as a full partner. Your unique capabilities and perspective would be valuable to us all." Miller stepped forward to stand beside Russell. "And the sabotage? Have you determined who was responsible?" The council members shifted uncomfortably. The crystalline entity responded, "We have evidence suggesting a faction who feared what humanity's inclusion might mean for the existing order. They have been contained." Dr. Wright, who had been monitoring Hayes's condition throughout the meeting, spoke up. "And our classification? Are we still considered dangerous Deathworlders?" The jellyfish-like council member's body pulsed with bioluminescent light that the translator couldn't capture. When it spoke again, there was a new tone to its words. "You are still Deathworlders, Doctor. That is a simple fact of your biology and your planet's conditions. But we now understand that dangerous depends entirely on context. To your enemies, perhaps. To your friends." The being made a gesture that resembled a bow. "We would rather have Earth as an ally than face it as an opponent." Captain Russell smiled. "Then we accept your invitation and look forward to a long and beneficial partnership. Earth has much to learn from the Confederation, and perhaps some things to teach as well." They sent humans to a Class 0 death world. It didn't go as they expected. Part 5 1 year had passed since first contact. The diplomatic station where it all began now orbited Earth instead of Mars, serving as the official link between humanity and the Galactic Confederation. Today, the station was busier than usual, preparing for the arrival of the Confederation Council's representatives for the formal signing ceremony. Captain John Russell, now Admiral Russell, stood in the observation lounge looking down at the blue planet he called home. Earth looked peaceful from space, its dangerous nature hidden beneath swirling white clouds and vast blue oceans. "Admiring the view?" Lieutenant Miller asked as she joined him. She had been promoted too, now wearing commander's insignia on her uniform. Her burned arm had healed completely, though Dr. Wright insisted on regular checkups. "Just thinking about how far we've come in a year," Russell replied. "From being classified as dangerous aliens to hosting the council itself. The radiation incident changed everything," Miller said. "Nothing convinces people like saving their lives." The door slid open, and Engineer Hayes entered, followed by Dr. Wright. Hayes now served as the head of a new joint technology initiative between Earth and the Confederation. Her experience with the station's systems during the crisis had given her unique insights into alien technology. "The council ships will arrive in 1 hour," Hayes announced. "Everything is ready on our end." "And medical preparations?" Russell asked Wright. "Complete," the doctor replied with a smile. "Though I still find it amusing that we need special accommodations for our guests on their own station." It was true. The diplomatic station had been extensively modified over the past year. Now, instead of a small section adapted for humans, most of the station matched Earth conditions. The Confederation representatives needed environmental suits, or specially designed habitats to visit comfortably. "It's a matter of perspective," Russell said. "To them, we're the ones with extreme tolerances." A gentle chime indicated an incoming communication. Miller answered it, speaking briefly with someone before turning to the others. "Commander Zixtal requests permission to join us." Russell nodded. "Of course." A few minutes later, Zixtal entered the lounge. He wore no environmental suit, one of the few Confederation species able to tolerate brief exposure to Earth conditions. His skin had a new pattern that the humans had never seen before, swirls of blue and gold that seemed to shift in complex ways. "Admiral Russell," he greeted, his translator now much better at conveying the nuances of his speech. "It is good to see you again." "Likewise, Commander, or should I say Ambassador Zixtal." The alien's skin flashed with what they now recognized as pleasure. "Yes, the Council formalized my appointment yesterday. I will be the Confederation's permanent representative to Earth." "A big responsibility," Hayes commented. "And an honor," Zixtal replied. "Few would have predicted such an outcome when we first classified your world as a Class 0 death world." Wright chuckled. "Few would have predicted any of this. I certainly didn't expect to become a leading expert in comparative xenobiology. The past year had been transformative for all of them. As Earth integrated into the galactic community, each member of Russell's original team had found themselves in new roles. Wright had made breakthroughs in understanding how different species responded to varying environmental conditions. Miller had revolutionized linguistic translation systems, making communication between vastly different species more accurate than ever before. "The Council is particularly interested in the new Joint Defense Initiative," Zixtal said, moving to look out at Earth. "Many still find it hard to believe that humans have volunteered to serve on emergency response teams throughout Confederation. Space. It makes perfect sense, Hayes replied. We can survive conditions that would kill most Confederation species. Why not use that ability to help? The emergency response program had been Hayes's idea. Human teams, equipped with Confederation technology but relying primarily on their natural resilience, now stood ready to respond to disasters across the galaxy. They could enter radiation zones, high-gravity environments, or toxic atmospheres that would be instantly fatal to other species. The mining colony rescue on Proxima B last month proved the concept, Russell added. The human team reached the trapped miners 3 hours before Confederation rescuers could have arrived with their environmental equipment. Zixtal's skin rippled with a pattern they recognized as thoughtful. It is ironic. We once feared what humans might do because of their Deathworld adaptations. Now many Confederation citizens sleep better knowing humans stand ready to save them if disaster strikes. The conversation paused as they all looked down at Earth. From this distance, it was impossible to see the changes taking place on the surface. The new Confederation embassies being constructed, the technology exchange centers, the medical research, facilities studying Earth's diverse life forms. There is something I've been meaning to ask, Zixtal said after a moment. A question many in the Confederation still debate. Does humanity resent being classified as Deathworlders? Russell considered the question carefully. At first, some did. It seemed insulting to have our home called a death world, but over time we've come to see it differently. How so? Zixtal asked. Earth shaped us, Miller explained. Its gravity gave us our strength. Its atmosphere, with all that dangerous oxygen, powers our metabolism. Its pathogens forced our immune systems to adapt. Its climate variations taught us to survive in everything from desert heat to Arctic cold. We are Deathworlders, Hayes added, and we're proud of it. It means we can survive where others cannot, and use that ability to help, not harm. Besides, Wright said with a smile, the classification works both ways. To us, many Confederation worlds would be equally deadly. Too little gravity, not enough oxygen, no temperature variations to stimulate adaptation. Zixtal's skin displayed a pattern of understanding. So it is all relative. Exactly, Russell agreed. The important thing isn't the classification. It's what we do with our differences. The Confederation feared humans because we evolved in harsh conditions. They expected that would make us aggressive, dangerous. Instead, Zixtal finished for him, you showed compassion, self-sacrifice, and a willingness to use your unique abilities to help others. You proved that hardship can forge cooperation as easily as conflict. A new chime sounded, the alert for approaching ships. On the main view screen, 7 vessels appeared, each representing a different Confederation Council species. They were beautiful in their diversity, some crystalline, some organic, some defying easy description. It's time, Russell said. The new era begins today. As they moved to leave the observation lounge, Zixtal paused. There is a saying that has become popular in Confederation space this past year. If you need something impossible done, ask a human. Hayes laughed. We have a similar saying on Earth. Necessity is the mother of invention. Perhaps, Zixtal suggested, his skin glowing with warm colors. That is why the Confederation needed humanity. You see the impossible not as a barrier but as a challenge. Russell smiled as they walked toward the ceremonial hall where Earth would officially join the galactic community. And perhaps that's why Earth needed the Confederation, to show us that what we considered normal was actually extraordinary. Together, the humans and their alien ambassador moved forward to meet the future, a future where the term Deathworlder was no longer a classification to fear, but a specialization to value. The galaxy would never be the same.